talk about reflexes. Your babies, when they are born with a number of reflexes, which are designed to keep them safe, but also to help them instigate feeding and make sure that they are nourishing themselves enough. So some of the better known ones are this. So you've got one called the palmar reflex, okay, which is if you give something for a child to hold, they will grasp that very, very strongly. Any mums out there or carers with long hair will know that they can grab very, very strongly and will not let go, okay. To go alongside that, they also have what's called the plantar reflex, which is where the little toes on their feet also curl in, okay, really tightly and try to grab onto something as well. These two reflexes go back to our primitive days, when sort of babies were clinging on to mum and dad as we were running through the forests and climbing up trees and living in caves and all of that. And we're still doing it nowadays, okay? So those are two very strong reflexes. On the feet also, there is something called the Babinski Reflex. So if you start pressing a child's feet nice and gently, sooner or later you will find them do this. And what will happen is their big toe will go out one way and their little toes will seem to go out the other way, okay? This is not because they have tickly feet, it is in preparation for them learning how to walk. So another reflex that your babies have is called the rooting reflex. So this is ideally designed to help them sort of try to get towards the breast so they can actually start to suckle. And what will happen is if you run your finger or something down your child's cheek, your baby's cheek, they will turn in that direction. And then if you do it on the other cheek, they will turn in that direction as well. And again, like I said, this is designed for them to try and nuzzle in and find the breast so that they can start to feed. The suck reflex was also part of their feeding reflexes. So from around about 36 weeks of pregnancy, your babies will learn how to suck, okay? It's one of the last developing reflexes that they have. And they will suck anything that's put into their mouth. So obviously that is to do with them learning how to feed, but also the suck reflex is a comforting reflex. It helps to calm them down as well. So a lot of feeding, particularly when it's on the breast, is not just about getting the food inside a little person. It is also a lot about sort of calming them down and making them feel calm and comforting as well, okay? The startle reflex is quite a funny one. This is when your baby suddenly go like that, okay? And that goes back again to primitive days when it's thought that if they sort of fell off their mum or their dad, you know, or came down from sort of a tree situation, if they went like that, they were more likely to be able to hold on to something and grab hold of something and stop that fall. So that's the startle reflex. It's often seen overnight because babies will actually wake themselves up while they're doing it. Babies will also be born with what's called the step reflex. So a newborn baby, if you put something solid under their feet, they will look like they're trying to walk, okay? It's got nothing to do with walking. The step reflex is designed for a little newborn baby to start crawling up its mum, again, designed to try and find that breast and get that breastfeeding established. So that is what the step reflex is all about. There is also another reflex that lots of people will see, but they won't understand what it's about, and it's called the tonic neck reflex, sometimes commonly known to or referred to as the fencing move. And the reason for this is if your baby, when they're lying on their back, they will turn their head, but as they turn their head, they often will extend the arm, okay, in the same direction as the head. So it actually ends up looking like they're fencing. That's why it's called the fencing reflex. A lot of babies will tend to prefer to do this to the right-hand side, okay, so they'll turn to the right. And some experts say that this is the first early indication whether they're going to be right or left-handed, okay. But all the experts agree that the reason for this reflex is that as your baby's turning their heads to look at something, by putting that arm out in the same direction, it stops them from rolling over before they're developmentally able to roll themselves back. So it's a safety mechanism. So all these reflexes are in place. If you watch your child carefully, you will see them all happen. Some of them will disappear after a few weeks, but others will last a little bit longer, so a few months. And after that time, obviously, they've developed enough to not need these sort of safety mechanisms to support them in the first few weeks and months of their lives.